Hello, welcome to Crossover Sports. I'm Gabriel Vasquez and I'm joined by Sam Egan. Today we will be going over fantasy football, week 12 game reviews, and hot takes for the rest of the NFL season. Alright, let's get into fantasy football. Some high performers for the quarterback position was Deshaun Watson with 33 points and Patrick Mahomes with 31.
Yeah,
How do you feel about those guys?
I mean, Patrick Mahomes is obviously one of the best quarterbacks in football, if not the best. I think he's clearly the front runner for NFL MVP. Deshaun Watson, he's been underrated all year. His team hasn't been performing as well as he would like, and I'm sure as the Texans would like, but they had a rough start. They've been bouncing back ever since. I feel like Deshaun Watson's a top 3 QB right now, and he's been the heart and soul of that team for sure.
Yeah, I agree. Like, people are saying stuff about Kyler Murray, like, being, like, an MVP candidate, but Deshaun Watson's beating him out in, like, almost every category besides, like, rushing yards.
It's hard to argue with Kyler Murray, too, but
Yeah, but, like,
Kyler
Deshaun
Murray's
Watson,
got way better weapons. He's got Larry Fitzgerald and DeAndre Hopkins, Christian Kirk.
Yeah, and Bill O'Brien, I feel like, just put, like, Deshaun Watson in such a bad position. Like, I feel like he had, like, such a great team built around him with DeAndre Hopkins, and they just got rid of him.
Yeah, for sure. He's been put in a tough situation to succeed, and he's been doing it regardless.
Yeah, and he's still doing great. I agree. He's definitely a top quarterback in the league. For running back position, we have Derrick Henry with 38 points and Antonio Gibson with 36. How do you feel about that?
Derrick Henry, man, he's proved that he's one of the best backs in the league. Ever since last year against Baltimore in that playoff game, he went off in the playoffs last year, and he's just continued that energy throughout the season.
Yeah, I agree. When, like last season, like once it's like the second half of the season, just starts turning it on. Like, he had 150 yards plus this season.
Yeah, I mean, he's one of the best backs in the league. It's no question in my mind. And then with Antonio Gibson, I mean, every back seems to have a good week, but he was playing a bad Dallas defense. Their rush defense is one of the worst in the league. But, I mean, you can't take away from him that he still had 36 points. I mean, probably his best game of the year, 3 touchdowns. I mean, you can't argue with that.
Yeah, he's also had a pretty solid year, especially being with the Washington football team.
Yeah.
At the wide receiver position, Tyreek Hill with 57, Will Fuller with 35, and Jarvis Landry with 28.
Yeah, Tyreek Hill, I mean, man's fast. He just outruns everyone, and
Speed
definitely
kills.
Patrick Mahomes' best weapon for sure. Will Fuller, I mean, he's really the only weapon on that Texans team, so Deshaun Watson's got to throw to somebody.
Yeah, that Lions defense was looking terrible against him. They could not catch a break.
Then Jarvis Landry's playing against the Jags. The Jags really have just blown everything up, so he was bound to have a good performance.
Yeah, and I think OBJ getting injured
kind
of put him at that, like, number 1 receiver position. So, yeah, and at tight end, Robert Tonyan with 17 points and Evan Ingram with 16.
The Bears defense, they really had their worst game of the year the other day.
Yeah,
and,
I agree. And the offense couldn't get it rolling.
They couldn't get it rolling, and, I mean, that led to Aaron Rodgers just finding Tonyan. He always seemed to be open.
Yeah, and Evan Ingram had a pretty solid game, too.
He's one of the more slept on tight ends in this league.
Yeah, he's been, like, if he just stays healthy, he's a good, solid tight end.
Sure. And then Falcons defense with 27. I mean, it's hard to argue with that. I mean, the Raiders had a horrible game.
Best game they've played all year defensively.
And those points seem to add up not only on the defensive end, but on the kicking end with Young Ho Koo getting 21.
Yeah, 21. That's shocking for a kicker.
All right, so what are you looking for next week? Who would you start next week? Who would you sit?
Well, for stardom, I got QB Tua. I think we should start him. He's playing the Bengals, who have a bottom, like, defense, and he's been looking good against, like, his 3 starts this year.
Yeah, for sure.
And he's looked good in all 3 of them so far.
For running back, I got Raheem Mostert and Dalvin Cook. Raheem Mostert had a pretty good week last week, and he's playing the 4th worst rush defense this week. I think he's just going to build on from last week.
Yeah, I think he'll bounce back from his injuries. He had a solid, okay game.
Mm-hmm. And then Dalvin Cook, I mean, he's the best running back in football, I think, right now. And he's playing a bad Jags defense. I think he'll just carry it over.
Yeah, and with wide receiver, I got Justin Jefferson. They're playing the Jags with the 4th-ranked worst pass defense, and he's at the new number 1 receiver position. So
with Thielen out, we don't know if he'll be back with COVID next week, so we'll see. And then Jarvis Landry, he's going to come off a big week, and now he's playing the Titans pass defense, who, I mean, they're 27th in the league. They seem to struggle with the pass defense, and I think he'll have a breakout week.
For tight end, I got T.J. Hawkinson playing the Bears after a terrible defensive week for them, and he had a big week against the Texans on Thanksgiving.
He also had a pretty solid week against the Bears in week 1. I think he'll bounce.
I agree. I think he'll have a great week. For the defense and special teams, I got the Steelers. They're playing the Washington football team, and they have the highest turnover rate. So I think it's gonna be pretty solid game for the Steelers.
I think the Colts, I think I got Rodrigo Blankenship as my kicker. I think the Colts will be able to just go down the field with ease, and they'll get a lot of points up. So I think Rodrigo Blankenship will get a lot of chances.
I agree. All right, for sit-'em, I think we sit Kyler Murray. Plays the Rams defense, who are second in pass defense, and he's coming off a terrible week. One interception, not a single touchdown.
I think he'll struggle again this week. I agree with you there.
Yeah. Also, for running back, Antonio Gibson, I know we were just praising him about how good he's been doing all season and how he had a big game.
But he's playing a good rush defense for sure.
Yeah, he's playing the Steelers now, like one of the best rush defenses in the league. And just, I don't know, I think people will start him just because he's been doing good and had a big week, but I think it's time to sit him.
I think another back you got to sit is Zeke Elliott. He's struggled all year. Cowboys' offensive line just keeps getting more and more injuries, so I think you got to sit him.
Yeah, I agree. With wide receiver, I got Terry McLaurin. I know he's also been QB-proof and matchup-proof all year, and now they're playing the Steelers with the third-ranked pass defense, so I think you sit him.
He's had a great year for sure. He's been dropping a lot of points all year, and I think this will be his few games where he just doesn't have much production.
Yeah, I agree. Also at the wide receiver position, Marvin Jones, with Kenny Golladay returning to the lineup, playing the Bears, who are the 10th ranked pass defense. I think he'll have a tough time. He'll get less receptions, looks at targets.
And he'll be playing against Jalen Johnson, the safety out of Utah, rookie safety. And I think he'll just have a rough game against him.
Yeah, I agree.
Sorry, he's a corner, not a safety. And then tight end. You want to take this one?
Yeah. Dalton Schultz playing the Ravens, who ranks 7th in pass defense, and the Cowboys just don't have a team right now. Their quarterback position is just looking terrible, and I don't think he's gonna do good. He just hasn't really been performing all year like he should.
I agree with you there. I think defense, special teams, Broncos, you got to sit them. They don't really even have a quarterback right now because of COVID, and running backs have struggled. So the defense is just going to be on the field all game, and it's going to be a struggle for them.
Yeah, I agree.
And then for the kicker, I would also bench the Broncos kicker, Brandon McManus, because, again, the defense will be on the field all game. The offense won't get any production.
I agree. All right. Well, we'll be back with more crossover sports after the break, and we'll be going into game reviews for Week 12. Welcome back to Crossover Sports. Now we're going to be going over the Week 12 game reviews. All right, on Thanksgiving, Texans versus Lions, 41-25. Texans just brutally beat the Lions.
Yeah, their defense struggled all game, and the Lions, they've been underperforming all year, and pretty much throughout the entire Matt Patricia tenure. So because of that game and because of the struggles they've had, they fired not only Coach Matt Patricia, but they also fired GM Bob Quinn.
Yeah, I think that's a good move by them. Hopefully they can bring in someone.
Hopefully.
The other game on Thanksgiving, the Cowboys versus the football team, 41-16. The football team takes the division. So
yeah, the Cowboys have just looked bad.
Yeah, they also beat up on the Cowboys.
They've had a lot of injuries this year. Their offensive line, seemingly their whole offensive line is out. Their defense has struggled, and they just cannot find ways to win games.
Yep, 2 blowout games on Thanksgiving.
Yeah, there's supposed to be, Ravens, Steelers. That was going to be a good one, but because of COVID, it's pushed back to Tuesday.
Yeah. Now for some Sunday night football, the Cardinals versus Pats, 17-20. The Cardinals got upset.
Yeah, both sloppy offenses, and really it was just that game came down to coaching, and Bill Belichick, probably the best coach in football history, and he just came down and he outcoached the Cardinals.
Yeah, I think the Patriots had a great defensive scheme that game. The Panthers versus Vikings, 27-28. That was a really close game.
That was a great game. Vikings somehow pulled it out at the end. They've been pretty good lately.
Yeah,
regardless.
Dalvin Cook has been producing a lot.
He's been producing. Kirk Cousins has looked better. Yes, they haven't been playing the best competition, but they've really bounced back from that rough start of the season.
The Panthers' rookie, Jeremy Chin, looked also really good against them.
Yeah, the rookie, Jeremy Chin, out of Southern Illinois.
Yeah, he had 2 touchdowns.
Back-to-back plays, back-to-back fumble recoveries for touchdowns. Pretty impressive.
Now for the Browns versus Jags, 27-25, also a close game.
Yeah, that one was a close one, but the Browns pulled it out. The Jags are not a good team.
Yeah.
And because of that loss, the Jags fired their GM, Dave Caldwell. Jags fall to 1-10 on the year. Yikes.
Yeah. Now the next game, Titans versus Colts, 45-28. Henry has an insane first half with 3 TDs.
Yeah, he had a huge fantasy half, and he had a good half just in general. I mean, final 45-26, and that was a huge game for the division, had huge division implications, excuse me, and Titans just took that one in Indianapolis.
Yeah, that was a good game. Next game, Saints versus the Broncos. As we all know, the Broncos didn't have a quarterback. They put in a practice wide receiver.
Yeah, they put in a practice squad wide receiver, and because of it, they just could not get anything going.
They're like the first team in a while to have more interceptions than completions.
Yeah, they had 1 completion, only 13 yards of offense. That was just
sad
hard game to watch, and
it's a shame on like the Broncos quarterbacks, because all they needed to do is wear a mask on the sidelines, and they couldn't do that.
Yeah, it was disappointing.
So that's what happens. The Chiefs versus Bucks game was a good game.
Tyreek Hill was that entire game. Like him and him and Patrick Mahomes just seemed to go off. Mahomes threw for over 400 yards, and Tyreek Hill had over 200 yards.
With all 3 touchdowns.
With all 3 touchdowns, man.
Chiefs take that 27-24. And the Bears versus Packers game, 41-25. The Bears offense just couldn't get it going.
They looked better towards the end of the game, and Mitch definitely looks like he's the better quarterback and looks like he'll be the answer for that Bears team. But they still looked bad. The defense had their by far worst game of the year.
Yeah, they couldn't get it going. They couldn't stop the Packers at all.
Yeah, I think one positive take out of this, if you're the Bears, I know you've been struggling. I know you're on a 5-game winning streak. But David Montgomery by far had his best game of the year, 103 yards. I'm glad they got the rushing game going a little bit. Regardless, it was against the Packers. Their rush defense is horrible, but
only on 11 carries too, so that's impressive.
Yeah, he really just seemed to bounce back there.
Yeah, I was glad that happened.
And me too.
All right, well, we'll be back with more crossover sports on the next segment with our hot takes for the rest of the season. Welcome back to Crossover Sports. Now we're going to get into our hot takes for the Week 13 predictions. Browns versus Titans. I got the Titans.
Yeah, I got the Titans too. I think Derrick Henry will go off on the Browns defense. I think they're good. I think the Browns defense is good, and I think that team is good. I just think the Titans offense is better.
Yeah, I agree with that too. And the Browns have been playing, like their offense has been producing numbers, but their defense is like against the Bengals, they're playing tight games against the Bengals, and they're a 2-8 team.
Don't look now, but I think Corey Davis might have his best game of the year.
Yeah, that could be true. Denzel Ward on A.J. Brown, so.
Yeah, I think Corey Davis might have his best game of the year.
All right, next matchup, Rams versus Cardinals. I got the Rams taking this.
I mean, I don't know. I think Kyler Murray and DeAndre Hopkins are too good. I mean, Jalen Ramsey is probably going to be locking up D-Hop, but you still got Christian Kirk and you still got Larry Fitzgerald. I think despite the Cardinals' struggles on defense, I still think the Cardinals are just the better team. I think they'll take it.
I think the Rams are a sleeper team this season. They're 7-4, and I mean, their defense is like one of the best in the league. They're playing great.
Have the best defense in the league.
And Sean McVay has been doing great with the offense. He gets them rolling. They beat the Bucks.
I mean, don't sleep on the Rams. I just think the Cardinals are the better team.
Okay. Next matchup, Bears versus Lions. I got the Bears.
Yeah, I got the Bears. I mean, the Lions are coming off firing their coach.
Yeah.
They're just going to struggle like they have all year.
Yeah, I agree with that one. Next matchup, Saints versus Falcons. I got the Saints, obviously.
I got the Saints. I mean, the Falcons did have a great week last week, but the Raiders had a bad game, and I don't think they can repeat what they did last week.
Yeah, and the Falcons. I mean, I don't know if you don't know if Julio's coming back this week or not. He's likely to, but if he doesn't, I just think that puts them in a harder position.
Yeah, and I don't think that.
And their defense. Yeah, that defense will not hold the Saints.
I think Alvin Kamara will have a bounce back week this week.
I agree. Bills versus 49ers. I got the 49ers. That's my upset of the week.
That's your upset? Yeah, I mean, that game could go either way. Niners got a great defense. They do have a lot of injuries. Jimmy Garoppolo, I don't think will have a good week. I mean, the Bills have a pretty solid pass defense, so I think Jimmy Garoppolo will get shown up this week, and I think Josh Allen, the Bills, will take this one.
I don't know. I think the 49ers have a great defense, and Raheem Mostert bouncing back off his injury, and Deebo Samuel also bouncing back off his injury. Both had good games, and they just took over the Rams. I think they're taking this one too. The next matchup, the Raiders versus the Jets. Obviously, the Raiders on that one.
I got the Raiders. That's going to be my lock of the week. I don't think the Jets win a game all year. They're pathetic.
Yeah, I agree. Next matchup, Texans versus Colts. I got the Colts winning that one.
You got the Colts. All right. I'm going to go with my upset of the week. We'll go with the Texans. Deshaun Watson has had some great weeks, a few weeks in a row. Colts coming off a bad loss. I mean, it seems to add up for the Texans. They're fighting for a playoff spot. This is a huge game for them. This decides whether they get a playoff spot or they get a high draft pick. And I think Deshaun Watson does not want that high draft pick, and he's going to take the W.
All right, we'll look forward. Next matchup, Chiefs versus Broncos. I think the Chiefs, that's my lock of the week. The
Yeah.
Broncos don't even have a quarterback. The Chiefs' offense is just way too overpowered.
It's hard to argue with that. I got the Chiefs.
All right, now for more hot takes on the season. I think the Eagles should bench Wentz for Jalen Hurts. What do you think about that one?
I like that. I think that's a good move. I heard they're giving him more snaps tonight. And I think, Wentz has struggled. Maybe bring in the rookie, see how he does. And with my hot take, I'm going to want to stay in the NFC East. And I'm going to say this is going to be a bold one. The Cowboys are going to win 3 out of their next 5, and they're going to take the NFC East at 6-10. Now, as pathetic as that sounds, a 6-10 division winner, I don't know. I just don't think there's much talent in that division. And, the Cowboys still... Andy Dalton's not a bad quarterback. Amari Cooper's a solid wide receiver. Zeke's still a great running back. They got the talent to make the playoffs, and I think they'll do it.
That's a decent hot take.
Do you have another one for us?
Yeah, I do. I think Trubisky has a great ending to the second half of the season. Their next matchups are the Lions, Texans, Vikings, Jags, and then the Packers. All those defenses have struggled all year long. Easy matchups for him. I think he played pretty good against the Packers defense for his first start since like week 3.
I think his only struggle will be the Packers, but I think he can bounce back for sure.
I agree.
Do you think the Bears make the playoffs, though?
I don't. I think the Vikings.
It's hard to argue with the Vikings. I got another hot take, and it's going to stick with the Bears. I think the Bears should trade Khalil Mack and try and get the number 1 pick from the Jets. Well, assuming the Jets get it. But, Khalil Mack, he's great and all. They're paying him a lot of money. But the Bears need help at that quarterback position. I only think they're a quarterback away from making a deep playoff run. And Akeem Hicks is the best player on that defense for sure. He's the heart and soul of that team. He's that big body out there. And when he's out there, the Bears seem to do better. And when he's not out there, they seem to struggle a little bit. So I think the Bears should maybe make a move, maybe trade Khalil Mack or Roquan Smith and try and get that number 1 pick, get Trevor Lawrence. And I think they're that one quarterback away from making a deep playoff run.
I can somewhat agree with that. I think maybe trade Allen Robinson. He wants to leave already. I say we trade him before he leaves. We can get probably the high first round for him, something like that.
Yeah, try and get some talent for him. And
as much as I hate to say it, he's like our best receiver, but receivers come and go. And Wims has looked great every preseason. But obviously this year he didn't have one, but he's always been looking good in summer camp, training camp, everything. So
there's still some pretty solid wide receivers out in this draft class this year, so maybe draft a wide receiver. And you got Darnell Mooney. There's still some solid wide receivers out there.
Yeah,
so
I agree.
Wide receivers come and go, like you said. So
we do need to fix our O-line, though.
The O-line needs to get fixed. I need to get a quarterback and an offensive line, and that team is a Super Bowl contender.
I agree. All right, now what are your early Super Bowl predictions?
Early Super Bowl predictions. I got the Steelers and the Seahawks. The Seahawks have a lot of experience. Russell Wilson, he's had that playoff experience, and I think the NFC East, or NFC as a whole, is up for grabs. And, there's not one team that stands out to me because each team has its own struggles. The Seahawks, their defense isn't the greatest, but they have some great offensive weapons. They got Chris Carson, DK Metcalf, Russell Wilson. So I think the Seahawks can easily make the Super Bowl. And then the Steelers, they're just the best team in football. Big Ben's got the experience. They got a great defense. I don't really see any holes on that team, and I think they can somehow beat the Chiefs and make the Super Bowl. What about you?
That is a hot take. My predictions are the Chiefs versus Rams.
The Rams. All right, that's a hot take. Going to that one.
Yeah. Well, the Chiefs themselves, I think they'll come back, get another Super Bowl. The Rams, too, from their 2019 season, 2018 season, my bad. And I think Jared Goff has that potential in the playoffs. He knows what he's doing now. Sean McVay, obviously a great coach. Their defense, if their defense keeps playing well like how they have been, I think they're making it all the way. I don't think anyone's getting past that defense. They beat the Bucs in the NFC.
It's hard to argue with that.
Yeah.
They always say defense wins championships.
Yeah.
So I think that defense can get them there. I think their one problem is they really don't have that offensive weapon. They got good wide receivers, but they don't have a great quarterback, and they don't have a great running back. When they made it in 2018, they had Todd Gurley, who was at the top of his career, and I don't think they have that great running back that'll get them there.
Well, we'll see. I think if the Rams could pull it over the Cardinals, I think they're my highest pick for the Super Bowl in NFC.
I think whoever wins that NFC West division is going to win that Super Bowl, or at least make it there.
Yeah, I could agree with that. All right, well, we'll be back with more Crossover Sports after the break. Well, that's it for this edition of Crossover Sports. I'm Gabe Vasquez with Sam Egan. See you next time.